the reality is not much has to change when it comes to peak week. Generally, people overcomplicate things, you know, whether it's manipulating sodium, water, training, cardio, food, wild carb loads, that kind of thing. The reality is you probably don't need to do as much as you would actually think. Firstly, ideally you want to make sure that all the fat loss that is required is done prior to peak week. Peak week is not a period for fat loss. The purpose of peak week is to reduce fatigue, reduce your stress, and ideally bring your best package to stage. For me personally, what that looked like for the most part throughout the 5 shows that I did in 2024 led me to my pro card as a natural bodybuilder. I generally devolumed throughout the peak week. There was no cardio in peak week. It meant that my body was reducing inflammation, fatigue, that kind of thing. We implemented a bit of a linear load, so we'd add carbohydrates to the start of the week, progressively throughout the week, and taper up towards the back end of the week. It wasn't as if we did anything wild in terms of carb loading. We weren't doing 1,000 gram of carb loads or anything like that. So it was just a staggered approach throughout the week. And what that meant is we slowly filled our glycogen stores throughout the week and ultimately could refine that look on a daily basis. We made sure things like sodium and water were tracked, not necessarily manipulated, but tracked. And I'll say the reason that this is super important, throughout peak week, the idea is that you'll want to try and replicate a look daily. So if you know that you're going to be on stage at a certain point in time, let's work backwards from there and say, okay, well, the day before that, we want to look like a certain look at a certain point in time in the day, which is when we're going to be stepping on stage. So we can manipulate, you know, the meal timing, the meal itself, the water, and we know what look is going to, we're able to bring to stage. So it's almost replicating those looks throughout the week to ensure that you bring a predictable look to stage as opposed to rocking up on show day and not knowing what you're actually going to bring to stage.